Oh, okay. Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Vicky Soma, and it looks a little different here. This is my first episode coming to you remote. I'm at my mother-in-law's house. So we're in Virginia Beach today, and hopefully the internet works out. If not, our guest and Lawrence, I'm sure, can fill the content here. So, as usual, I'm joined by Dr. Lawrence Nightingale, who's in his usual place. He is an educator and a 3D printing advocate from Alexandria, Virginia. He's facilitated instruction for 3D printing for over 500 people in the Northern Virginia area. And Lawrence has been 3D printing for over 11 years, just a little bit further than me. His first platform was an early Prusa, which was the wood frame. He has been a speaker at the National Maker Fair in Washington, D.C. He has spoke at the very first East Coast Rip Rap Festival. He's done extensive research on the effect of 3D printing of college students. And thank you, Lawrence, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Vicky. It's always good to co-host How Would You Slice That with you. And of course, as always, my co-host is Vicky Soma. She is a leader in the STEM fields, a computer programmer. She is an early adopter of multicolored 3D printing. She runs a small Etsy business producing very, very finely detailed models for native birds in the state of Virginia and also across the East Coast. She's an early adopter of multicolored printing, and also she has done something that most people have not done, which is she has a 3D print. One of her 3D printed models is an actual character in a Hollywood production, and so she produced a gazebo for a Lifetime movie, which was central to the plot for how the girl and the boy brought themselves together. And so
Yeah.
Vicky and I have collaborated for a long time. We're both active at not with Nova Labs, and Vicky is our the heart of this the operation for How Would You Slice That. So Vicky Soma, thank you so much, and it's good to be here.
All right. Well, do you want me to go ahead and introduce our guest tonight?
Yes, please.
All right. So if you've been following a lot of the How You Would Slice That episodes, most of our episodes so far have a focus on FFF and FDM printing, but that's not always going to be the best tool for every project. There are myriad of options out there to make your ideas real viable products. You could do CNC machining and sheet metal fabrication, injection molding, die casting, or other 3D printing technologies such as the selective laser sintering. So our guest tonight is kind of dabbled in a lot of those. And one can say that he has manufacturing in his blood. His family has been in the manufacturing business since the 1950s. So even as a young child, he was visiting the shop floor. As an adult, he has helped bring hundreds of physical products to market. And today he continues his family tradition in manufacturing work as the CEO of KForm, which specializes in advanced manufacturing for the defense industry. He is also the president and founder of the Red Blue Collective, which is an organization dedicated to collaborating and coaching entrepreneurs and helping their ideas get to market. So tonight we are going to welcome Callye Keen. Let me bring him onto stage. Hello.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Yeah. So just to kind of just jump right into it, Callye, like as Vicky said, this is a family affair for you.
Yeah.
And like George Lucas, his father offered him to get into the furniture business, but he decided to be a movie producer instead. So now, how did you decide to stay with the family business and move it forward into the 21st century like you have?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, my grandfather was a machinist in the Navy, and we have his discharge papers framed they're in our lobby. So 1947, he gets out of the Navy, starts working. So we've been doing this for a little while. Grew up doing it, but my parents actually met in art school. So they went to BCU. My father has a degree in sculpture. My mom has a degree in ceramics and in fine art. And so we grew up making things around the house, making art. I wanted to go to art school, and I really fell in love with digital art and programming and then web design. And I thought that that's what I was going to do because it's a confluence of a lot of things that I like. We grew up pretty tech savvy. We had computers at KForm in the 80s. I grew up using AutoCAD like as a kid.
Wow.
And like we wrote our own software that ran the shop starting in 1988. And I ended up taking over the programming and development of that. And that was one of the ways that I got lured into the family business. But, instead of working at the mall in summers, I think my parents didn't really trust me. So they put me in QC, checking parts and filing prints and doing the clerical or non-machine work. So you have to be 18 really to operate the equipment. So doing anything but doing that, and then becoming 18 and then coming home in summers and learning how to run a giant laser, how to form sheet metal, how to machine, how to insert hardware and do all of those pieces. And they really sucked me in with the software development piece. And then that went over and looking at all the other technologies, then working in production and then working in product design. And I've been doing product development for the last, almost 20 years. And that it hit that same nerve for me, right? Of digital art and like, I'm pretty good at this because I grew up working these machines and I understand how things get made. And funnily enough, a lot of engineers, they've never really had that opportunity to tinker, even with a 3D printer or with CAD, especially 10, 15 years ago. And so having that opportunity to say like, I can work with engineers at Boeing or at Northrop or at a startup and show them how to make their product so it can be made and how these processes work was like a great entry point into using those things that I like. So art, design, technology, and putting them all together. And so, that's really how I got started doing that. And around 2006 or 2007, we heard about 3D printing, and it sounded like magic, honestly. And so, I'd been to a lot of the big trade shows. I'd been to IMTS. I'd been to some of the other fab or machining or manufacturing kind of in industry trade shows. And manufacturing, by and large, is a fairly insular business because it's expensive, complicated. And so I went to the first Rapid, or I think that is the first Rapid. So it's about that time frame. And I saw 3D printing and I just thought, this is crazy. This is a totally different thing. We looked at getting it, and I'll be honest with you, is we didn't get it at first, right? We didn't understand it because one, if you can use subtractive manufacturing, that technology has been around for 100 years. It's very mature, so it's always going to be faster and cheaper if you can do that, right? Sheet metal is going to be cheaper, faster, more scalable if you can do that. And so we looked at it, and at the time we did contract manufacturing. And it was like, well, nobody's asking for 3D printed parts. People that are asking for it, they're going to use these service bureaus, these big emerging service bureaus by the big companies that were selling machines were also selling 3D printed parts at the time. And so we were like, we won't get a 3D printer because Northrop's not asking for 3D printed parts. And if they are, they want us to be cheaper than the people that actually make the machines, which is impossible. So it was like, okay, it took a little while for us to understand that it's a new paradigm. It's a different thing. It's not the replacement of what is already out there. And that's because that's what the industry was saying is like, this is going to displace machining. This is going to displace these other technologies. And I had already lived through the CNC revolution, right? Going from manual machines to having paper tapes to having CNC programming online, offline, retrofitting our machines, networking all of our machines. We saw that, and people thought at the time CNC was going to make machinists obsolete. There would be no machine. Just go up and click a button and boom, you'd get a part. That's what people thought in the late 80s and early 90s. And that's what people kind of think now. I'll be honest with you, people too. Our facility, they don't know what a CNC mill is, and they think, oh, you just show it the model and it just spits it out.
No.
Oh, I've had that at craft shows where people think that about 3D printing, that it's almost like a next generation replicator, that you're like,
yeah, exactly.
So, two quick
and
things
it's
here.
like an invitation, right?
Yeah. I do want to confess that the very first time that I saw 3D printers was at the USA Science and Engineering Festival, and I was not impressed. Not impressed. It wasn't for a few more years that I got that bug. The other thing that caught my attention was you were talking about your customers weren't asking for 3D printers yet. And, I've been studying because I'm not familiar with Mr. Keen. And so I wanted to learn a little more about him. And I was watching some of his podcasts or other things that he was a guest of. And that's something you've said a few times, that you don't make a product and then go try to find the customers for it. You try to find the customer and the problem, and then you come and make it. And so that just shows that's been your process for some time.
Yeah, and until we could figure out the unlock of where this would help our customers, it really didn't make sense. And I mean, now we have many printers. We're printing all the time, but the difference is that it gives new capabilities. So it's like we changed our product development process so we can print products extremely early, or just a portion of a product. Anything that would be inside of a product. If I want a little like a cable manager to just route my cabling internally better. If I want, I can just FDM print it. If I want something aesthetic and it has a complex shape, I'm totally free, and I can SLA print it. If I want something strong and it has different shapes and volumes, a thin and a thick section, like SLS printing. And until we understood those processes, and then as a product developer, I said, hey, like I can make this product for 1/10 of the price. Also, I don't have to go bug a machinist. I can print it, or I can have anyone print it at a much lower skill level, right? And a lower capitalization cost, right? So a bamboo printer is like free for somebody like us. It's $1,000, and you just click it and it works. It's like a dream come true. We just bought a CNC mill. It's $700,000, right? So it's like, if I can design that part so it could be 3D printed, I'm going to spend a lot of effort to figure out if I can 3D print that part instead of running that other machine.
Wow. And how many axes is that CNC machine that you just bought?
It's a 5-axis machine with a pallet pool. It's 120 tools.
All right.
Machine a 22-inch,
cube,
half sphere. 100 and it's got like a 30-degree over travel. So you think like 210-degree.
Oh, okay.
Semicircle, but yeah.
Wow.
It's awesome. You're
Sounds
welcome
like
to
it.
come and tour, but that's a really robust machine, and when you need that, it's fantastic. It runs lights out. It's making parts right now, right? It's 8 o'clock at night. It's still making parts probably for the next couple hours, and there's nobody there. But a 3D printer could do that too, right? So like right sizing the tools, and then we had to kind of step back and then show on an education process is like, hey, you're used to designing things like this, but like, what if we could design something, with this new flexibility? And then all of a sudden, it makes so much sense. So, yeah.
That you mentioned design and looking at the capability and the end use for things that were designed, and designing into the manufacturing process. And in the work that I've done with students, that's one thing that has kind of jumped out at us big time, is that you start thinking about how it is that you're going to produce a product so that you're going to get your end result. But you think about maybe the limitations of the machines, like with FDM, which is what we were working with, overhangs and looking at parts that may be a little bit too brittle or too fragile to go to be to be cast into metal and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So, and there are a lot of people here who are How Would You Slice That fans who are also designers. So if somebody is really looking into design, that's something they're looking to strengthen, what would you say would be a good thing to look at and to learn to be more marketable as a designer for FDM? Is there any kind of insight you can give us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's more and more channels on YouTube that are around what you can do for FDM printing. So I'll give a simple example of this: is if I was going to print a box, right? So I want 5 sides and it's going to be empty on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
The natural inclination is to make this so you're going to print it with a flat bottom and print it straight up, but you're going to get some less than optimal results from that. And if you print it at an angle and you make a little support for it, you can get better shapes. You can get the layers to lay a little bit better for strength.
Mm-hmm.
Adding curves, you'll typically see somebody make a very curved part, and then as the curve becomes more accelerated, the layers also become more accelerated. So thinking about print orientation is just like thinking about how in CNC machining the shape of the tool, right? How's it going to cut this thing? 3D printing, you got to think about how does the tool work, and so what is it going to look like? So I think a lot of that comes from experience and being fearless and going and saying, I'll get some models and I'll print it and maybe I'll experiment. Like if you want to see the difference with those different printing techniques, maybe you look at Gridfinity. We print Gridfinity boxes to organize screws, or if we're assembling something, print something simple like that on its side, flat at an angle, and see what the differences are, how that impacts your print, and you'll be really surprised like how quickly you can learn by doing versus taking like a purely academic approach to.
Gotcha. And as far as what talking about taking an experiential approach and then finding oneself maybe looking for opportunities in industry, like is it better to, if you're looking to do something with 3D printing, if you are somebody that maybe wants to pick up a freelance job, or maybe get something that do a piece build or something like that, is that something that is in existence right now, or is there a place where manufacturers are looking for maybe somebody that's a distinguished FDM printer or home printer, or somebody that's been learning on their own?
Yeah, I think, well, we've all participated in maker spaces. I used to have a little office for RBC at the old Nova Labs location, done all kinds of things through there. And what I would say, if I wanted to jump into that, is go to a maker space, go to where you can get mentors, other people are experimenting, and jump in there. But people are doing projects all the time, and there will be entrepreneurs there that need assistance, whether it's running the printer, giving suggestions, doing some modeling. But there'll also be maybe innovation challenges, like a drone challenge, or we do a lot with Department of Energy, where they need assistance from designers because somebody has a wonderful idea and they need to execute on it. But participating into an ecosystem is really how you get started. Like I got my start developing products literally because somebody would come, and this is really common to a manufacturer. Somebody comes with a little bracket or a thing. They say, I need 10 of these. I don't have a drawing. Right. I'm like, well, okay, I've been doing AutoCAD since I'm 12. I can draw that. And then I did that, and that kind of progresses. Our engineer at the time left, and somebody had to do a project, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do this project. But you can start with something just as simple as that. Like we do multi-million-dollar projects, and like that's how I got started doing it. Right, is doing very, very simple things. And because I knew how the processes worked, I had an edge over people that had degrees and many years of experience because they did.
Mhm.
And so, like this is from personal experience. Um, People discount what they know because it doesn't come with the official name tag, you know,
Mhm.
and what they can do. So like do some things and show off what you can do, and find somebody doing something interesting that you can participate in, volunteer, participate, collaborate, and like then you'll build up a portfolio where people um, they're chasing you down to help. You'll have
Mhm.
the opposite problem.
Wonderful. Wow. Well, great. Well, that's I think I really like that advice. I really like I appreciate you sharing that story.
Yeah, I
I
wish
found
that. Oh, sorry.
Go
You
ahead,
go,
go ahead,
Lauren.
Vicky. Yes, yes.
I wish that I had done the makerspace when I was first starting out. Though it all worked out for me. I started with the service bureaus like Shapeways. So I started learning 3D modeling by watching YouTube and then uploading my object to Shapeways, and they'd print it. And I think, Callye, you do something. You refer work to exometry, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
We use fictive. We use Xometry. We use a couple because there's so many different materials, right? And,
Mm,
and we we've bought a few machines, but it's like I always need something different. So
yeah.
yeah, no slight against using those bureaus for sure.
Oh yes, to this day, if I have a jewelry piece that I want in cast metal or the full color sandstone, I will still send things over to Shapeways. And um, I do, man, I'm gonna look judgmental to the FFF and FDM printers because I just talked about how the USA Science Fair, USA Science and Engineering Fair, I wasn't impressed. But when I first got my FFF FDM printer, I thought I was taking a step down from the selective laser centering because it has
Mhm,
such good resolution and you
mhm.
could do 100% overhangs and everything like that. But I fell in love with my own machine and the hackability of it and how I can stop and put mirrors and stuff in it. So now I just, interchange some things I'm doing FFF and some things I'm sending up to the selective laser centering for Shapeways. Do you have a selective laser centering printer? That's like my dream printer one day.
We're looking at one right now. There's a Kickstarter for one right now where the price is pretty good, and you know I guess from my like skewed perspective, anything in SLS that's under 20K is unbelievably inexpensive. Under 10,
Mhm.
this machine is I think 6K,
Mm.
which
Okay.
is I think there's an early bird for like under 5K actually for it. It's on Kickstarter right now, but um, we we've looked at that and just you know, you you have to like look and think, okay, well, what's this gonna buy me if I can buy this part for $20? Like we literally look at it like how many $20 parts. The only problem with the SLS is the mess.
Hmm.
Is the powder is quite messy. Some of the other high end printers, I put that in that same category. So yeah, when people are talking about their FDM printers, the real advantage to it is that it's a very clean process. You can print that anywhere. There's almost no odor. There's no VOCs really. So very little exhaust. Even with the SLA printer, you need to have exhaust. Certainly, if you
Venting.
run a business,
Yeah.
Yeah, for anybody watching that's not familiar with the selective laser centering printers, they put down a bed of powder and a laser comes and shoots just that first layer of your object it's going to solidify the powder to become your object. So when they're done, it's just a big block of powder, and I think they call the process excavating, right? Or they like digging your object out like a
Yeah, you have to put it
archaeologist.
in a big basket, and there are very sophisticated systems that help you do this. But still, it is what it is, right? You're gonna get white nylon powder or whatever your material is all over the place, and you know if you're looking at I want to be a prosumer of this, I want to put this in my house, or I want to put it in a public space like a maker space. It's just something to consider, and people don't really think about it when they look at how cool those parts are. The also thing is that the machines are very expensive based on build volume, whereas if you look at FDM printers, you could, for the same price, get 5 giant 3D printers, and you could print something the size of yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Good point. Good
And
point.
the process does impact your design because they're digging this thing out of the powder. Anything inside your object that you want hollow, you need a way to get that powder out. So, one of the design requirements is to put in escape holes so they can clean the internal powder out of your object.
Yeah.
And that is another wrinkle that is present from the different methodologies of producing these things. So thank you for bringing that up. So Callye, the thing that we really wanted to get to once we kind of explored your expertise with production, 3D printing, and all the different iterations. Many of the people in our community right now, most everybody has something that they are looking to grow. They're looking to either get more attention for a media channel they've got, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or what have you, or maybe there are also collective and volunteer organizations that people print multiple parts and make a big collective piece. And one of your strengths is helping people to make their idea for a business or for a commercial entity go from idea to execution.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that takes years and years and years and hours to talk about, but for people who are in FDM and the community to a certain degree, what kind of things can you share with us about taking your ideas and growing them to a consumable level?
Yeah, this is a great topic. So yeah, to be fair, I could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, and I have on my previous podcast, and I still do on my new show. There's a big misconception that we can have an idea and we can say, hey, this is a good idea, where the market is what gets decided. We can have confidence in ourselves. We can think that we're cool, but the reality is that it is subjective relative to the customer. The customer gets to figure out what's valuable and what's not. And so it's very difficult to come up with an idea and perceive and understand that like it is a good one. There's also ideas that are very good but not good for the entrepreneur. And so like we've run incubators and accelerators, and somebody would have an amazing idea, but they don't have the technical disciplines or the marketing chops, or they don't have a piece. And so they either need somebody on their team or they need some other idea. So not all ideas that are good for that person. But all that stuff aside, when I hear an idea or I come up with an idea, what we think of is the end in mind first. Is I think, how am I going to sell this idea? And generally, there's a lot of quotes that I'll paraphrase simply, is that the world already has too many ideas. Right? Most patents are not commercialized. Most research is not commercialized. Most companies and products fail, and they fail for the same reason: distribution. So we have a surplus of ideas. We have a surplus of products. We have a dearth of supply. So if you can solve distribution, any idea is a good idea.
Wow.
Okay, so if you are into something and you see that it's fairly popular, and we've done this with projects. Like I spun up a whole company and taught at Nova Labs, hey, this is how you come up with an idea and you inspect the market and build a marketing plan. We built that into a fairly sizable and well-known business. But it's the first thing to solve is the distribution problem. How am I going to get attention for this idea? And if I can't figure out how I'm going to get attention for it, I don't do it. and so one of the techniques that I have taught for a really long time, taught hundreds of people how to do this, how this works, is for any idea that is good, there's somebody that already owns your audience of customers. So have you ever heard people that people buy from someone that they know, like, and trust? Have you ever heard some version of that? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's not true. It's just not true. Do you trust Jeff Bezos? No. Do you trust the Walton family? No, you don't.
Yeah. No,
So
no.
It's demonstrably false, but it is a little helpful to understand the market. But I'll put in a different gap in here, is that people buy because of people they know, like, and trust. And an example of that is bubbling up now is, like, you look at influencers peddling products or Prime Energy drink or something like that. Mm-hmm. Really, there is somebody behind Prime Energy drinks that does all the work. Congo Brands does all of the work for that product. They own 60% of that business, and they own several brands that are similar to that as well. But what they gave away is they gave away their marketing dollars to somebody that already had distribution. So they built $1 billion product with 0 ads because they bought the ads with somebody that already owned the distribution, that already had the list of their customers, kids that want to drink energy drinks. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they have the hydration drinks too.
Yeah. But it's super clever, and so we built a business called Revolve Makers, and that's what we sold the $700 fidget spinner through, and did it to get people's attention, because you need to have an idea that grabs people's attention and their imagination. I was trying to teach people this concept is we didn't really make a $700 fidget spinner. We made a pocket-sized sculpture with my friend who makes unbelievable CNC machine art, right? He's the most well-known artist for CNC machining in the world, certainly the country. And so that's who we collaborated with. So when we made that product, we had access to, his fans, and we had the credibility from working with Chris. Chris Bathgate is a phenomenal artist. He's out of Baltimore. But we could kind of, in a funny way, we would say, hey, we made the world's most expensive fidget spinner. But in reality, what we did is we knew that Chris had thousands of fans that couldn't afford a $10,000 or $20,000 sculpture. And so we really made one of the cheapest Bathgate sculptures that he had ever put out. That's what we really made. So we took the value of a $20,000 item and made it $700. We took something that you could only keep in your house and you could put it in your pocket. Right. Mm-hmm. So we created a new category called pocket sculptures, and to this day there's pocket sculptures. But my point is like, we wanted to make something cool. So we think like, well, what do I think is cool? Well, I think sculpture is cool. I grew up in an artistic household. I think manufacturing is cool. So like, who's doing things like this? Oh, well, hey, there's this guy online I've never talked to, never met, but he does this the best in the world. He's the Michael Jordan of CNC machine art, right? And so like, if Nike knows they need Michael Jordan, me, who is a nobody, I need a Michael Jordan, right? And so I think like we go visit Chris, ask him if he wants to do a project, and a lot of times people will say no, but somebody's going to say yes. Especially, you look at my background and say, oh, this isn't the second project he's done. This is like the 1,000th project that he's done. So yeah, okay, let's do it, right? Mm-hmm. But at that point, we had solved the distribution problem, and all we had to do was make something really, really good. And if you put yourself in that category, you're in the success category already. So it's like, I really view the world as a collaborative ecosystem. So all the people that I would ever want to meet, I only need to have one relationship to meet all those people. One relationship can change your business, change your life. And I need to really think about like, who is that big lever? Like, who can I work with? Who can I help them learn something, grow their brand, make money with them? Who can I work with that if I were to work with them, everybody's going to buy that sneaker because it's Michael Jordan, right? I don't have to worry about marketing, right? Who's that person? So I really think about that. and I put that in a category of things that I know more than the average person. I'm a member of that tribe. My brother's a machinist, right? I've operated a machine. Like, we're in manufacturing. We know all, like we're a member of that group, right? And so to make something for that group, I can be authentic. I know what people like. I have this super information advantage, but I also like, so that was our Kickstarter. We launched a Kickstarter for that product in 20 days. I did it live, recorded all the information, taught a class every week on how we did it. There's young me, there's Mike next to me. And so we built that in the makerspace. We traded a friend to do the video. He does content for Custom Ink. We traded with a friend to run that mill. I actually donated that mill to the makerspace, but like the people in this video, there's Ted, Mike. I still collaborate with these people today, 7 years later.
Iterations.
Yeah, we still do projects today. But it's like, we did this live. We did it on Kickstarter. We ended up doing 20-something thousand, and then we did another $10,000 in pre-orders, and we launched that. That was alpha, and then the next project was the Bathgate Artifact fidget spinner. But it was like we did this as a demo to show people, like, hey, you can do this. Here's these factors that you want to put into place. But the reality is, I'll pick something totally different because at the time, nobody liked fidget spinners. This is the other thing you have to understand. It's like, when we released this, people thought it was the dumbest idea ever. All the machinist guys that I knew, they were trading these things, right?
Wow.
These were like little home job things that people in shops were making. And I was like, this is going to be big, because people are like, you can't buy them. There's huge wait lists for them. All the knife guys were making them. I was like, oh, this is going to be big. But a similar, like, but different thing now is like, maybe you like games like Warhammer 40K. I guarantee you in another year or 2 years, it's going to be the biggest thing in the world, right? So if you like making little sculptures, you could 3D print like little, monsters, robots. I like Gundam. I like, things like Warhammer. And it's like, if you know everything about Warhammer and you know how to model and you can make those models, like, there's a huge opportunity to make custom variants of those things so people can have really cool sculptures and bigger sculptures. And there's a big community around it. But when Henry Cavill releases the Warhammer 40K show, I guarantee you that every normie, every regular person is going to know what Warhammer 40K is.
Wow, good point.
You know what I'm saying? And so you think, like, if you're really into this, you probably already know somebody that runs a game shop, that speaks at an event, that is probably already a sculptor, right? That, and so a lot of these times when I do these projects, I do the nerd work. So I'm like, okay, like, I'll do the website, I'll do the printing or the machining, I'll take the orders, I'll pack the boxes, just like, make me a really cool model, and like, let me help you make a really cool model for this thing. I'll do all the other work, and let's do this project together, just so I can get to do something cool with somebody interesting. And so if you're looking at getting into 3D printing as more than a hobby, I think of things like that as, that's like my hobby, right? It's doing these projects. But like, if you want to do anything like this, it's like you need to get involved and think of the systems like more organically than like, I'm going to make this thing and then I'm going to run Facebook ads and I'm going to see if somebody wants to buy it. And I'm like, I don't know. I just want to make cool stuff with cool people. That's all I want to do.
Right.
And so, like, this is kind of a strategy around that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Absolutely. You're talking about when you come up with an idea, you want to make sure that when you do so, you're doing so kind of sailing into a group of people that are already ready to consume what it is that you're looking at. And furthermore, it's contrary to what we think a lot of people who are entrepreneurs and product developers do, like working collaboratively is is an asset rather than a detriment. The story of somebody kind of going it alone is what we all read, but that person had lots and lots and lots of people doing things for and with them along the way. And distribution, which is something that I don't think we think about very much at all as on our scale, but distribution, being able to make sure that you can get it to the people when and where they want it, that's something that is a huge consideration that I'm really glad that we were able to have you share that with our community too.
Yeah,
We did have. Oh, you go.
Yeah, I have like dozens of examples of this from people that make costumes. That 3D printing is like a great, for anybody that goes to conventions that wants to make costumes, and it's like they wanted to break into it. Now it's a fairly competitive market now, and so how do you stand out? Well, people make costumes for somebody that they already follow. Say, hey, can I make a hairpiece for you? Can I make a sword for you? Can I make this thing for you?
Mm-hmm.
And they show the process, and they show the process of working with that already known entity, the cosplayer. And then the cosplayer says, hey, this is where I got that thing. And then all of a sudden they have orders because they've used that process of collaborating and solving distribution and working with somebody. And it does solve a lot of problems. But at the end of the day, like if you think somebody's really cool, getting to know them and making them a friend and working with them is much cooler. Much cooler than just watching their YouTube videos. So
thanks for that. That's great advice. Go ahead, Vicky.
Yeah, and you had a tweet, like hot take: paying an influencer to post something is not a partnership deal. So what you're talking about is actually like building the relationship with them and collaborating,
Wow.
and you have that network there.
Yeah, affiliate marketing and influencer marketing is a different thing than what we're talking about. Is more like business development or partnerships, and this is, Lawrence, like you're saying, is there's this pervasive idea of the lone entrepreneur, the guy hacking in his basement, like doing this and this. But it's demonstrably false. It's a story that's told because it sounds interesting, but you can't find that out in the world anywhere. And same thing with partnerships is you can go through the Fortune 500. Every single one of those businesses uses partnerships as their main growth strategy.
Wow.
Like, look at Apple. Okay. Apple partnered when they wanted to release the iPhone. That's how they were able to get all those features with AT&T. Right.
Right.
You go through every single one of those companies and you can list their strategic partnerships, and those were part of their strategy that unlocked their growth. And so if every single successful company does something, but then it's not taught to entrepreneurs, there's a big disconnect there. And there's a huge disconnect in what's taught in business schools or taught to startups, where this isn't just like a strategy. It's a strategy that every single success story has in common.
So while we have a lull, we did have a question from the chat, which is how hard is it to set aside a good idea that isn't viable? I feel like you would probably cutthroat. I think I saw an interview where you're like, I don't make a lot, like you hurt feelings sometimes by telling people that ideas would be so good.
Yeah. So I'll pull from Ed Catmull, the Pixar guy, right? He calls our ideas ugly babies. They need to grow up, right? Everybody thinks their own idea is good and beautiful and wonderful, but in reality, you show it to somebody else and they're like, that's kind of messed up, right? So that's the one thing, is that that it's subjective. We want to believe that all of our ideas are good ideas, but a discipline is knowing that you have infinity good ideas. There's no like shortage of these, and if you want to get better at coming up with ideas, idea generation is an actual practice that you can perform, and that there's strategies in idea generation that you can conduct, and you can come up with 10 ideas a day, every single day, forever. James Altucher talks about coming up with 10 ideas a day, becoming an idea machine. And that's one of the best strategies for then not being so attached to an idea that you have. Also, documenting those ideas is a great way to go back, because some ideas are just not great for right now. You don't have the piece of the puzzle, the right team member, you don't have the right vendor, you don't have the right piece of equipment or knowledge or skill, or you don't have the right amount of money. There's a lot of ideas that would be fantastic if you had $10 million and all the skills in the world. But like if you had $9,900,000 and were pretty good at that skill, it would be a total waste of time and money.
Wow.
And so like that minimum effective dose of the thing, you look at it and think like, how would I actually execute on that idea? Right. And and so a lot of those ideas become not now, but later, or if you can really become monk-like about those ideas, you probably came up with them because it's a good confluence of things that you saw, and maybe it's a great idea for a partner that you want to develop. It's a great idea for Lawrence. Hey, Lawrence, I came up with this idea. I really don't have time to execute on this, but like, what do you think about this? And feel free to take it, steal it, manipulate it, distort it, run with it, do whatever you want. But I thought of this idea and I thought of you. I would rather develop that relationship and give away that idea than I would just sit on it. It's a great way to build up your network. Connecting people with ideas is always a lot better than just sitting on it.
Yeah, and another question with the prioritizing of your good ideas, you're looking at logistics, or you're looking at time, and what other kind of factors are you looking at?
Yeah, I'd say one of the best is to look at what is your priority. So prioritization is an interesting term to use, because we have different priorities. I talk to people and they have no desire to really make money, as they're just like, I'm going to do this thing and the money will come from it. I'm like, if you're cool with that, I'm cool with that. Right. But because your priority is to do projects or to do art or to work with people. Right. Probably enough money can come from that if you're money minded, right? But like other people, they are trying to start a business, and I think like, okay, well, what's your time frame? When do you want to do something? And if we're in an accelerator or an incubator, we look at actions in like how fast is your runway, right? Can you do something next week? Like what is your actual like increment of time that you're measuring priority? So if somebody says like, I want to be able to quit my job by the end of the year and have my business, I'm like, what does that look like? Does that mean $20,000, $40,000? Does that mean that money doesn't really matter? You just want to do this full time? Like, let's put some numbers to it, and then let's put some actions to it. So people come up with ideas that instead of propelling their life forward, they become an obstacle in and of themselves.
Wow.
Right. And the reason is because they have this wonderful idea, but they can't get over that thing. And so I say, like, let's break that boulder down into smaller chunks, into rocks. Like, what can you do next week? What can you do this month? What can you do this quarter? And if we can't break that thing down because it's already irreducibly small, but too big for us to take action on, we need to move it aside. Right.
Wow. So really making a priority, making decisions. And sometimes those decisions, from what I'm hearing from you, there's emotions involved with those too. People have a hard time maybe either acting or not acting based upon their perceptions of what their ideas are going to do, the products are going to do.
I mean, I don't want to minimize this. Is like, this problem though only gets worse as you become more successful. It doesn't get better.
Wow.
So think of I'll be super selfish for this. Think of my perspective, right? We have millions of dollars of equipment. I can literally make anything. I have a great engineering team. I have a lot of resources. I have a lot of customer connections. I can make most anything, even inside my market. So like, this problem of choosing ideas doesn't get easier when you have more resources. It gets harder.
Wow. Well, that offers clarity to everybody, really kind of to really focus on that skill and be able to prioritize,
Yeah.
which is important. Wow.
I almost
And
feel
go ahead.
like for me, I work as a computer programmer, and I have two kids who may come back from dinner anytime now. Um, and I feel like my time is really scarce, and I'd like to think that helps me be pickier about my ideas because I have tons of ideas, and what do I have time for? Um, if I have this great idea for something, but there's something similar already out on Thingiverse, or you can buy it at Michael's. A lot of 3D printer people, go out to the store and they see that and they're like, oh, I can make that. Well, for me, if it's already out there, I'm like, I'm not going to spend my time making it because,
Mhm.
I just have a limited amount of time. So, anyways, that's
Yeah.
for me. I'm a little baby
Yeah.
person, but that's how
Hi.
I would prioritize myself.
I think that's wonderful because the flip side of this whole conversation of people that have tons of ideas is people that they have all these ideas, so they do nothing, and because they're like, which one should I choose?
Oh gosh.
And like, I want to choose the best thing. And what's really interesting about developing a skill or being successful or opportunities is they come while we're in motion, right? And
Mhm.
so if I can just work on
Ah,
something and I can be in the process, like whatever great idea that I thought I had a week ago before I started doing anything, my pretty good idea is going to be better than that one because I'm taking action, I'm doing things, I'm talking to people, I'm drawing and designing things, I'm throwing things away, I'm improving things. And so like it might feel like wasted motion, but if I can look at it and say like, what can I do next week? Like, can I take a short CAD class and just like explore this? Can I, or should, like maybe I should download some models and play with this new printer that I got. Like the process of doing something can get you a little bit farther. So I really think that ideas as obstacles is like an important concept for people to take when
mhm.
look at the fidget spinner. If I, we sold 150 of those fidget spinners from an Instagram post, pre-sale, right? And
Mhm. Mhm.
like fidget spinners by that time, there were ones for $1, and I sold ones for $700, right?
Right.
Spinners are demonstrably, like, provably a laughable idea, right?
Mhm.
Like it's not a, you know, it like it like bad ideas win all the time.
I
So like
gotcha.
so
Ah,
it's really decoupled from success. Like people are like you can pick again, you pick any successful company, and generally they're not like the first person that thought of that idea.
yeah.
They're absolutely never the person that had the best iteration of that product. They're the
Mhm.
person that was able to take action, build a team, get capital, or do that thing. And so they're I think this comes from us being like graded frequently, like on the
Mm.
quality of our output. And it's like people are looking for an A plus, but the grade comes in execution. All the values in finishing something, right? Is like doing it,
Yes,
finishing. It's not.
absolutely.
It's not. We're not. You know. It's
Wow. That
yeah.
Callie, that is, the grade comes from the execution. That is probably the most important thing that somebody who's an entrepreneur can really hear, because the existence of ideas and great ideas and the best ideas is not really what is the measure of success. It is the final execution, and that is, I think, really that should help people to kind of move forward with executing their ideas.
What can you execute on, right?
Right. Right. Because that's really where the world meets your idea, and how the world consumes your idea moving forward.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to the end of the hour, and we want to give you the opportunity to let us know what kind of things you want to promote from Callye Keen and KForm,
Or Red Blue Collective.
or the Red Blue Collective. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't. I don't have much to promote. I think just in general, I want people to be advocates for themselves, right? So go if you are really interested in something, the overlap of opportunity, whether that's like as a hobby to explore 3D printing and the intersection of that and the thing that you like, is infinite, right? The intersection of then to monetize that, if you choose to want to monetize that, is also infinite. But I want people to go out and like join a meetup, go make friends, go make friends that like they've already figured some stuff out, so they can show you a few things, right?
Gotcha.
Or you can come to 3D Printopia.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, go to a maker fair, right? Go to conventions, like go talk to people, go buy a group of people a pizza and pick their brain, like go to a maker space. So I really just want to promote the idea of interaction and action. In general, I'm not the best person to like. I work with funded startups and pretty large companies. Like if somebody happens to look watching this and they're like from SOCOM or something, hey, welcome. Like I'm the guy that makes stuff for you, but like in general, I just want to be a big advocate of learning any kind of manufacturing, any kind of design, making things. I think that it is like core to the human experience is that we are built with a compulsion to create things, and you need to find like your outlet to make something. It is like how we are built and designed, and that's so missing from people, and they're like wandering around trying to find what's missing, what they're not, like what's this, giant like creation shaped hole in my life, and it's just start doodling something, right? Start building something, and that's all I really have to promote.
Cool.
I have stuff off of that. Love how you articulated that. You're very quotable. One of the people in the chat also promotes Maker Fair, Nova Maker Fair, which you and I both have been involved with, Callye. I think you too, Lawrence.
Yes.
Two things. You're talking about ideas, not right now. The idea I'm doing for this year's Maker Fair was an idea that I had in 2019, but it didn't quite gel. But now is the time. So it's like it was a idea later. Related to my Maker Fair project and what you just said, I'm recreating a self-portrait of the author Kirk Vonnegut Jr. From filament poop from the Bamboo Labs, printers, the multicolor printers, right? And the quote next to it is, let's count this as paraphrase, is practicing an art, no matter how well or how poorly, is a way to make your soul grow. And for me, I like to extend that to making, because when you're doing that, you feel alive when you're being creative and your juices are flowing. And that is something the author Vonnegut promoted not only in his books, but when he was speaking. I went to hear him speak, I think circa 1999. And the task he gave everybody was to write a poem to never show anybody, just to go through that act of creating. So anyways, two things. All right.
Great.
So we're wrapping up. So I guess it's time for me to tell everybody that How Would You Slice That is live on Tuesdays that are prime numbers. So our next episode is going to be July 23rd. And if we want community involvement, just like Callye's like saying, find your community or go out and be your community. We want community involvement with this show. So if you would like to be a guest on it, go ahead to howwouldyouslicethat.com and fill out the form. Or if there's a particular model or a project that you'd like us to do a little take on, go ahead and submit that as well. Callye, thank you so much for joining us, and viewers, everybody, thank you for participating in the chat and everything. And Karen, I don't know if you're going to be quick on the keyboard, but Karen Chow, I think Tuesdays she does tutorials on Twitch. Karen, are you doing a tutorial today? Should we send people your way on Twitch? We'll see. We don't know. Well, if she is doing a tutorial Tuesday. You don't want to miss it. So go to the Karen Chow Designs on Twitch and just check out. And she's not doing it tonight.
Oh.
Okay, but keep an eye out for that on other Tuesdays. Perhaps she didn't do it because she's here. Thank you, Karen.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Everyone,
Thank you,
thank you
Cal.
so much. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.